Lots of things. Hey, everyone. Gosh, it's been so long. I don't know if you were just with Tiffany and I on Instagram, but we couldn't get each other connected. And so we bopped over here to Facebook. So when you join us, would you do me this favor? So I'm here in Alaska, which you all know, and Tiffany is in Florida. So talk about opposites. Like I'm way northwest and she's way southeast. So we'd like to know, where are you joining us from? Pop it in the comment section. So this is Dr. Tiffany Christie. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you saw the title and you wonder, where's Amber? She was joining us, and then she's like, my class is going to start in the gym. I got to go. So it wasn't just a tease that there were going to be three ladies on. It was simply because Amber had to go. So Tiffany and I were just having a discussion about community, and not only our boot camp community, which is second to none, but the community that Tiffany has created in her practice. And so even though Tiffany is not a stranger to practice, and she's been a practicing chiropractor for a lot of years, her practice in Florida, what is it, 3 or 4 years old?
3 years.
3 years old. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about it. Like, let's just jump right in of how did you build community so quickly where you're at in a new practice?
Sure. So, I guess long story short, I did grow up here, so that was a little bit of a leg in, but I had been gone for over 20 years. And so when I came back in town, there were some familiar faces, but you're kind of a stranger in your own town because people have moved on, people have started other lives. It's not like you're like, hey, I'm back. So, I hit the ground running. So the first thing I did is like go back to my roots. I literally showed up at my high school. So I have a CCSP, so I'm a certified chiropractic sports physician. I'm sure everyone listening knows what that means, right?
Yeah.
But I have my CCSP, and so I went to my high school that I went to and was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, class of 99 here, but let's start treating your athletes. You know, and it's not a very big town, so you know that those people don't have resources, right, to bring in for those students, for those kids. And I was like, all right, let's do something. And so I made sure that my presence was not only on the field. I kind of bartered for more advertisement more than anything, like name being announced during a football game, a banner on the field. So I did do it pro bono, but honestly, I was there for probably 3 hours a week, which was nothing starting off. And I made sure that I was at every parent meeting. So I was like, I need to be here so the students and the parents, we can all have open communication. Because let's face it, the people who are actually going to see you most times are not the students. Because when I was 16, I didn't have a dime to my name, maybe what grandma gave me for Christmas, but it was not going to chiropractic care. So you got to get in with the parents. So I was like, every parent meeting, I'm there. And that's exactly what I did. So every time I sat there and spoke to the parents, introduced myself, and made connections that way, and was instantly part of that community. And then the football team grew into the baseball team, and then I've been asked to do basketball, but I don't have enough time. So I need another person.
This brings up a really good point. So I was talking with a new doc who just joined the boot camp, and she's new to practice as well. And when we're in chiro school, we're all taught, and even after chiro school, if you go to any chiropractic event and it has anything to do with marketing, for the most part, they're going to say, get your name out there, right? Well, it doesn't work just to put your name on a banner if no one knows who you are. It doesn't work to just sponsor a team and have your name up on the side of the basketball court if no one knows who you are. And so I hope you all captured that what Tiffany did was get herself out there, right? And she became really interested in the parents. She became really interested in the community. She became really interested in the families. And then as they got to know her, now she can use her name out there, like it's broadcasted by the announcers and whatnot. But first, we have to show up and have those conversations that lead to connection to relationship, and relationship to commitment. And I love also that Tiffany was like, it was 3 hours a week. And if some of you are like, I don't have 3 hours a week. Yes, you do. if your practice isn't full, yes, you do. I'm amazed at how many people tell me how few people they serve, but then you give them a direction of, here, go do this. Oh, I'm too busy. What? You got nothing but time, right? And 3 hours face to face in parent meetings beats 3 hours on Facebook scrolling every day of the week, right? So let me ask you this. What who are you known as in your community?
So at this point, I've established a pretty good, I'm the go-to for any kind of pediatric, pregnancy, hybrid sports. Let's face it, these kids are kids, right? They are not adults. It's a little bit different. And so bringing them into more of a pediatric, and yes, we do see babies as well, but kind of a whole community practitioner at this point. I think this week we're seeing 302 patient visits.
Congratulations.
It's crazy. Got a little bit of Ivan from last week bleeding into this week. So we got a big bump this week, but it's been fun. So yeah, just kind of, known for someone who can be trusted in the community. Again, like the parents don't want to just send their child to someone they don't know, right? They're not going to just blindly, these are their babies. I have babies. You're not just going to say, okay, go, whoever, like meeting them and talking to them. And I put my cell phone number on everything I gave them. I gave them a paper, a little bio about me, and my cell phone was on there. So I was like, if you ever need to reach out to me, because we're talking about your baby, even though he is 6'2" and 250 pounds and nearly twice the size as me, this is still a 16-year-old child. It's their baby. Call me. Any questions or concerns, my door is always open. And I think that just, they get it. I'm a parent. You're a parent. I'm here for you as much as I am for your child.
So I'm sure there's somebody that's either watching now or will watch this of, oh my gosh, didn't people just blow up your phone? And wasn't it impossible? And how did you do that? And why did you do that? So let's just put that to rest.
So actually, no, not at all. I would probably say maybe like a handful of text messages on occasion. And really, those were the people telling me when the next meeting was. They were like, hey, we're having this. Hey, can you come to that? It was an invite for the next event for me to go to.
Right.
Not like, hey, I'm going to bug you about this.
Right.
Just open kind of more doors. It just sets the precedent for trust.
Yeah. And wow, like I have my chiropractor's number in case something happens to my kids. There's almost like you said, there's this like mutual trust and respect when you just give it to them. Right? Versus if they find it on their own. Now, I don't know what that is about human nature, but I love, love, love that you do that. And I love that you have seen your practice members through the lens of being a mom. Because as a mom, having your chiropractors, if you weren't a chiropractor, but having that chiropractor's number would mean a lot to you. And to trust them when the cards are on the table. I mean, let's face it, if I'm your practice member and you're adjusting my 6'2", 200-pound kid and he's in a crisis and you're the first person I call, as my chiropractor, that's probably going to make you feel pretty good. That like, hey, Dr. Tiffany, I want to get your opinion first. Before I go to the ER, before I do this and before I do that. And a lot of times we can really make a huge difference in that kid's life in that moment of emergency. Now, obviously, if they're bleeding or whatever, I mean, let's just, go to the emergency room, please. If you get hit by a Mack truck, come see me after the bleeding has stopped and, you don't have any broken bones. But then right after that, I want to see and serve you. What's your most favorite boot camp system that when you opened your practice, you made sure, and just so you guys know, she practiced in the Pacific Northwest, sold that practice, and then moved back home to Florida. And so had been in the boot camp then, and then brought the systems here. So what one has been most profound for you in Florida?
You hear the term, keep it simple, stupid, like don't overthink it. I'm going to go with the whiteboard topic. It is in your face, staring at you, because we have a whiteboard in every room. Like if you are not looking at that, even if a patient is face down, I'm looking at it and it's telling me to do what I need to do and bring up the subject, right? And even 9 times out of 10, I walk in the room and my patients are trained at this point and they're like, what's 168 mean, right? Like, what's that mean? Or what do you mean by this week? And I'm like, oh yeah, let's talk about that. It just opens it up right away. They expect it now. If I didn't change it, they would probably say, hey, Dr. Rizzo, why we're not changing your whiteboard? Because we need to talk about whatever you want to talk about this week.
Yeah.
And then that's an easy way. I mean, you want to talk about referrals. You want to talk about, I mean, just building knowledge on chiropractic, basic education. I mean, like, listen, talking about the weather never got you a new patient, right? The weather's been really nice here in Florida. I'm not going to lie, but like, I literally told my associate doctor today, we write those down. Let's talk about it. And I actually try to have whiteboard conversations that get the patient engaged where they answer a question and I write the question down on the whiteboard. It's big enough where I can write their answer. And so then people are wanting to know other people's answers and it creates like, oh, someone said this, someone said that. And it just kind of just builds from there. So super simple whiteboard topic. And again, even if the patients don't see it, it's staring at me. So I am being reminded to do my system that is in place.
Yes. I mean, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. And, you know, I'm forever amazed. And I've done the same thing in business. We chase something shiny when we've got something like, wah, a whiteboard right in front of us. And the people who get bored the fastest with it, it's us. Right. And that's why I just love that we can put anything, like whatever you're interested in. If you're watching this and you've heard about whiteboard topics, but you're not doing them, it's whatever kind of interests you. And if you're like, I don't even know, then just start like putting up chiropractic principles, right? Or put up and I find almost like the fewer words on the board, the better, because then everyone brings in their originality to the word. Like, have you done vomit yet?
I have, yes.
and how did those conversations go?
Oh gosh. I mean, people are all over the place, you know?
Yeah.
They want to hear my response. And I'm like, well, let's start with, is it good or is it bad? Right? Like,
right.
Should you vomit?
Yes. And I love that you came back with, let's talk about it. Right? Instead of just telling them, let's have a conversation. Because we all know when we come up with the answer, we're taking ownership, right? Because it's something that's coming out of our video game instead of just agreeing with the doctor. Like, you know, if this is all your practice members are doing and not using their voice, probably not engaging. So I love that. I love that. What's been your most favorite whiteboard topic in the last month?
Oh, in the last month. That's a tough one. I'll say the one that's on today, I guess, because that's what I've been talking about all day. So on the whiteboard topic today, we have, what is the reason why you made your first appointment here?
Nice.
What is the reason why? And so I'm saying that because I want them to write down low back pain. And we know chiropractic is the best thing on the planet. And so then it just circles back on how they have less low back pain and how they're able to do this and sleep through the night and that and the other, which then leads me to say, you know what? Why don't you share that with someone? And there's a QR code up front that you can scan and leave us a Google review, please. Let's talk about, let's share your experience with chiropractic care. And I would probably say the biggest one that I talked about with someone that really made the most impact was a child who had allergies, who is when I say a child, a 1.5-year-old. So this is not a very old child. This is a toddler who was on Zyrtec, was on Singular, was on a nebulizer, and now he's not taking any medication. The only thing that's changed in his life is having us as a coach, as chiropractors, right? This is what we're here to help our community, and chiropractic care. So that's the biggest one. That's the best story this week that has come out. I mean, I shouldn't minimize anyone else, but that is
awesome. And just think how different that child's life is, right? That but at 15 years old, a child starts recognizing where they fit in the family unit. Did you know that? At 15 months of, am I accepted? Am I not? Am I, and so a child who's sick all the time can sense that energy in their family, right? So not only if they're sick, are they not feeling well, but they can already sense that energetic change when they're with their family. Pretty interesting, huh?
Absolutely. And just think about that child who's on that pill that thinks that pill is the answer. What kind of disaster are we causing there, right?
Right.
Oh, you feel good. Just take this at 15 months old, taking medication. It's horrible.
Right. So then when, that child gets cut from the baseball team, and here's a cool drug that all the kids are doing. And I've learned, well, if you don't like your feeling, you just take something. Like, it's not a big mystery how we have so many kids on drugs. They learned it really young. Or the lollipops that are drugs for little ones. Like the, there were Pedialyte when my kids were young, and there was like an Astro one too, right? Like, oh, this is so fun. Like, my drugs are like candy.
Oh, yes.
Oh my goodness. Not so. So what do you love the most about being a part of our tribe?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like your anchor, right? Like, I feel like we all in practice differently, or we all will kind of at some point shift focus or focus on something for a moment in time. But I feel like the boot camp is truly like an anchor. Like, any moment that I feel that I'm getting busy and some of my systems are dropping, or even like just my being principled in chiropractic. Like, we all have those days where you just are dealt like your Debbie Downers, and you're like, man, it's what I'm doing. Like, what you're doing is 100% worth it. But you have those moments, or, employees or whatever. And it's an anchor that you can come back to, even if it's just listening to, logging onto the app and listening to past videos. It's like, okay, we're going to circle back. We're going to circle back to our principles as chiropractors. We're going to circle back to those simple systems, which makes you grow a practice. Just kind of bring you back to the reason why we're all here and what laid our foundation for being successful. Because I like to think that most of us are successful part of the boot camp. I mean, if you're doing it, I don't know how you're not, but it just kind of brings you back, so you kind of figure it out again. And you're like, okay, yeah, this is why. We're going to just keep on doing it.
Yes.
Keep on growing a little bit.
The simple things, like we went over in the team call of, is this appointment for you or your entire family? Like, that's such a good one. I can't believe I forgot it.
Yes.
Right?
After that call, that is like the first thing I said to my team the next day. I was like, we are saying this, right? Because I know we've said it, but are we still saying this?
Right. Or even the recycling poster. Oh man, like, we moved things around and we forgot to put that back up, or, we got really busy and we stopped doing the new practice member tour, or, that MD referral letter. It's such a good one. I just forgot.
Yes.
So it's always good to be reminded of the basics. No different than like in relationship. One great reason to take vacations is to have memories, right? To be able to go back and talk about, whether husband and wife or family, of, remember when we went here, remember when we went there. And it's the same exact thing when we revisit those systems. So I have a really cool list of whiteboard topics for everyone who's coming to the Ultimate Marketing Bootcamp. And, like, I'm given a bunch of assignments for you to actually do the work before we get there, so we can look specifically at results from stuff you've just done. So I'm really excited, especially because you're accustomed to doing whiteboard topics, what you think of these topics and what your practice members think of the topics too, because they're kind of off the normal conversations that we have. But I think conversations where, think about how much trust your practice members have in you when they bring their brand new baby. I mean, there's hardly anything as sweet as a newborn, sweet and innocent. And when they say, Dr. Tiffany, will you check my baby? Like that's a level of trust that is really, really important. So given that they have that kind of trust with us, then in these other conversations that they're probably not having with anybody, I think it's going to be really powerful. So what would you like to say in the last few minutes of our interview to everyone who's watching, and let's specifically to those who aren't members of the boot camp yet, and maybe I don't know how you could be in our profession and not know something about it. So let's just assume they know about it, but they haven't like booked the call yet. What would you say?
Make the first step. See if you're a good fit. If you don't take that first step, you're not going to get anywhere, right? And this holds true in life. Like if I wasn't like, well, I'm just going to walk into Melbourne High School and just let them know that I'm back in town, like they care. I don't think they care, but we're just going to do it. So pick up the phone, send an email, and really, it's such a great program. It's such a great community. I hate to even call it a program. That makes it sound too much like school. It's such a great community, and it's there's an endless amount of resources. There truly is. When you think about all the things you could be doing, it's like exponentially growth potential. So take that first step, and it's just a conversation, just like you would have with anyone.
Yeah. No different than a chiropractic consultation.
Absolutely.
But the person who doesn't know if chiropractic care can help them, they're only going to know when they come in and talk to a chiropractor and have an exam and then a report of findings, and then from there decide. But from right here, if I just observe, not going to know. Cool. Yeah. Hey, thank you. And thanks for your time and for being flexible to make it here since Instagram didn't work. I'll have to, well, that's not true. I won't be figuring it out. Somebody on my team will be figuring it out, because if it was left to me, I wouldn't be able to figure it out. So thank you so much. And I'm so thankful that you guys were safe in that storm, and to anyone who's watching that was involved and affected by Hurricane Ian, know that we're praying for you, and that a year from now, life is going to look way different. I remember being in the throes of the earthquake and just thinking like, this is just never going to be restored. And it always does, but it's tough when you're in it, for sure. So thank you, Tiffany. Have a wonderful evening. See ya, everyone. Thanks for joining us.